What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review probably the debut album by Mr. Strange. Basically, this product is called The Fall, and it came out in the fall of 2011. So the pitch behind this particular product is I'm looking on the biography of Mr. Strange. He's kind of here and there in terms of like the actual information about him, just because he's more of like an underground artist. He doesn't actually have an official Wikipedia page, but he does have some artist biographies that I found. He's kind of more off to the wayside, but he's like an underground version of like Marilyn Manson combined with like some insane clown posse in there and some pictures like that. Some of those type folks, maybe a taste of like Rob Zombie, some of that type fare, but especially Marilyn Manson. I would have to say I reviewed one of his albums before, way back in 2019. I wanted to get to some more of this because I remember Jackal Goldkick showing me a couple songs from this guy in the past. He talked about him initially. He's talked about him with some reviewers. I wanted to see some more of his projects because I did purchase a few songs off Electric Pornography from 2013 or 2015. It's a pretty good album as far as those pitches kind of happen. I wanted to get to this one. This is like his debut. So apparently also about Mr. Strange is he had another band. I mean, this is him as a solo artist, but he had a band, a part of like a circus rock kind of steampunk band, kind of similar to like Ghostfire, some of those projects I reviewed by Ghostfire, which would be the Shanklin Freak Show. I would have to say it's an interesting type pitch. Definitely be interesting to check out his steampunk band, the Shanklin Freak Show, at like a later date, just because I did appreciate Ghostfire and some of those type pitches, just to see what's up with it. But it's an interesting pitch, and Mr. Strange's solo work. So I have at least reviewed one of his projects. I'm going to get to some more of these. Now, the thing about it is he dropped two albums in 2011. The other one, which I think was called Freak Show, which had over 36 songs. So that might be a ways before I get to that particular product scene, as it's a double album. But this is a pretty excellent album here. I just would have to say it's a good concept just of the taste of what happened here. It's like a great alternative to Marilyn Manson. I would say it definitely reminds me of like the Mechanical Animals days. It's that kind of goopy and kind of more electronic, kind of subvert, kind of just more like in the trenches kind of just hangout type fare that just a lot more just kind of syrupy and just a lot more just kind of sludge rock or sludge metal as far as those pitches kind of happen, just combined with some of the haunting aesthetic. It kind of it almost feels like a Juggalo type album, but just within the pitch of it being alternative rock and metal and electronic as far as those pitches kind of happen. So it's just a great concept, kind of get that compelling character, just has a lot of appeal. I'm surprised that Mr. Strange just didn't get a lot more full blown kind of popularity based upon what he did. It's just a concept. I don't know how active he is in nowadays times. I at least have known that he's dropped at least 3 or 4 albums, at least up to like 2016 or 2018. But I just kind of question the pitch nowadays. Definitely some excellent concepts kind of get here, but would look after it. This is an available project. So but he kind of updates his YouTube here and there. It's just been kind of back and forth as far as those pitches kind of happen. But he does have a number of albums. So I'm going to get to some of these. This is a pretty dope concept. This album's going to get a relatively rave score. I had to say definitely over a 9 out of 10. Definitely appreciate the concept as far as those pitches kind of happen. So basically, on this particular album, there are 14 songs, and out of those 14, I wound up recommending at least 9. But the thing about it is there's 3 songs out of these 14 that are kind of interlude type songs. I did like the Abyss song, which was one of the interludes, but the actual intro, Descent, and then the other interlude, Requiem for the Past, I didn't recommend, so I may not count those as much. I just would have to say I look after it. It's because I feel like at least the Abyss was more of a song, but I kind of feel like the Descent was Descend was not much of a song, and then Requiem for the Past is not much of a song either. So I kind of feel like those are just kind of more of like interlude type ones, more so than the Abyss actually being like somewhat of like a decent song with vocals. And then Crusher Fucker 2007 is the same song as Crusher Fucker from this particular album. So I'm just going to slash that. So this would basically mean that it narrows it down to about like 11 songs on this album in terms of like in terms of how many songs I would have to grade here. So out of those 11 songs, I wound up recommending 9. So it's a pretty excellent type pitch. I want to say the song Eyes was the song that was the single. I remember Jack Goldkick showing me this song years back. I might post that message that I might post what I thought of that particular song way back in 2019 as far as pitches like that kind of happen at some stage. May happen, may not. But look, after just being able to say I have known about this project for a good number of years, but I just would have to say it's a good pitch behind it. But yeah, every song on this project I recommend out of the 11 songs. Out of the 11 songs, there are actually songs minus the song Ancient and minus the song Faint. Those are the only 2 songs I don't recommend in some fashion. So the song Faint basically this was just kind of electronic type one. This is just more of like a more peppy. This just kind of felt like a more bleep and boop type electronica type one that just didn't really have as much appeal towards it. I mean, I this one was just kind of a surprising type one. Just felt like more of like 80s electronica and not just faint. Just didn't match the rest of the album in terms of like the quality behind it. It was just something that was just a little bit more kind of peppy electronic that just didn't have as much appeal. Not to say anything against peppy songs, but it just kind of felt like it stuck out in like not necessarily the most glossy kind of way. And I would say with Ancient just felt like a song to like a movie soundtrack, something like that, something you'd hear in like a movie like Tomb Raider or some sort of adventure movie. Some of those type pitches just felt very Amazonian, something within that pitch, but it just didn't really have as much quality towards as far as what I would listen to or recommend. I'd have to say it's the concept behind it. Those are about the only two songs of that. This album's going to get a 9.5 out of 10 just in terms of the quality behind it. And I realized that in some senses, the song Descend and Requiem for the Past are at least some degree of songs, but I feel like they're just the less composition behind it. I just feel like when it's not actually as much of a song, I feel like when you add to the score because of like a hit song like Abyss, which is more, I mean, that one at least, I feel like Abyss contributes to the album more so than the other two songs that are just less than 2.5 minutes that don't. So I just look after the appeal behind it. But yeah, it gets a 9.5 out of 10. I'd have to say. So I'll go ahead and talk about the single Eyes. This is like a gnarled, kind of twisted autumn venture. I would definitely feel like it's like an eerie kind of turn up. I would have to say it reminds me of ICP and Marilyn Manson. I would definitely feel like it's like some great backyard kind of smoke. It's just to kind of have. This one's just a real vicious type one. Really appreciate the appeal just right off the bat to something to really kickstart things, get things pretty torn out. This is kind of something that Marilyn Manson would have done, but it's just a little bit more localized and residential. I'd have to say, if you want something by Marilyn Manson, just with like some vicious metal in there and just it's kind of more residentialized as far as those pitches kind of have a more backyard type fare just for standard kind of bonfire and kickback, just smoke it, some of that type fare to kind of get this is a great concept. It just really has some vicious, the appeal behind the song is a lot more just the appeal behind the song Eyes is just a lot more vicious and just kind of feral compared to a lot of stuff that's just on mainstream type appeals. Like I feel like a song by Marilyn Manson like Fight Music is a great song within its sense, but it's just a little bit more vanilla and kind of commercialized. I'd have to say it just feels it's definitely a pretty manic song. Fight Music, some of those type ones, The Beautiful People, some of that those type ones, but this just feels a little bit more backyard type fare, more kind of in the trenches of just more localized typeness. It's going to get for like some underground metal to kind of have that really works with that appeal. So it's a nice one. Crusher Fucker's a pretty nice one. This feels like a single that probably could have been. This is a good concept here. There's like a knocking kind of alternative venue noise of a song. This feels like a club song that probably could have been. Just good pitch behind that. Just carries some of that Marilyn Manson craziness. This is like a more standard kind of just hangout type fare. I look after it's like a creeping kind of peppy entry dap song. I would have to say it's a good type one to kind of get here. It feels like a buzz single. I'd have to say about this one. This really feels like typical kind of hangout type fare, just some good kickback type music to kind of smoke up and pitch just like that. I would feel like this is a nice one. This is probably like the closest song that really gets to like more venue type noise. I feel like Eyes is a definitely nice one, but I consider like the concept, it just does not seem as full blown kind of likely that many venues would pick up this particular music. Not to say it in terms of that because of the quality, but just the concept of just how low key I question it. I want to say that this album might have been manufactured on CD, something like that, but the information really to display this here, like the songs when they're on Spotify, there are some songs that don't even have 1,000 plays on here. The most popular song according to Spotify is Burn the Dictator, which has 6,700 plays. I would look after it. The song Eyes, which is the single, only has 2,500 plays. So it's just kind of the concept of just being able to say there's some songs on here that don't even have 1,000 pitches like that. So it's just kind of within the taste. I want to say that I guess I could look up and see how many plays a month Mr. Strange gets. Mr. Strange gets like 760 monthly listeners, so it's just kind of the pitch behind it. But you look after it, some good overall appeals. I definitely feel like Crusher Fucker's like a good venue type noise kind of get just within a relative sense. Be a good one for the DJs to pick up just for something to spice it up. But I'd say apart from just playing standard Marilyn Manson or Rob Zombie hits or some of those type folks, it's a good one to kind of spruce things up. The Abyss is a pretty nice one. It's like a hollow and kind of oozing mood music. I would definitely feel like it's like an ambient kind of haunting fun. I would have to say just some good concepts for that. Just some ambient hauntingness. It's a real nice one to listen to during like a head trip, kind of smoke and ruminate. I'd have to suppose real nice one. Real nice concept for that. It's like a zone out and kind of hella trip. It's like a zone out song and a hella trip of a song to kind of get here. And by hella trip, I mean just really feeling it, some pitches like that. It's a great concept. Pretty much this is like a vicious out. This is the concept. If you're really gonna smoke tonight, some pitches like that, not just have one or two beers, but actually have something. Obviously not driving home being torn up, but just within the concept of just saying, just really and to get crunk, just have some residential type fare as far as those pitches kind of happen. Just really appreciate like a standard autumn wicked kind of night, cool November, October, September night, some of those type fairs. It's a good pitch for that. There's plenty of these songs that I'd say Chemicals, Burn the Dictator, Is This the End? Some of these type ones are just swirling type ones to kind of get. Crusher Fucker and Eyes also go along with that as well. Just some pretty vicious type ones. And I'd probably say in a certain sense, Welcome to the Fall is another one as well. It's like a creeping kind of eerie hangout jazz. I would definitely feel like about this one. It's like a basic kind of autumn kickoff noise, I'd have to say, and it's like some great, this would definitely be like a great Marilyn Manson alternative, I'd have to say. Welcome to the Fall is another one that kind of reminds me of like Marilyn Manson's Mechanical Animals. This is just kind of similar to like the song by Manson, I Don't Like the Drugs, but the Drugs Like Me. Just a basic kind of ambient kind of just dap type song and kind of get here some standard fare, just the initial kind of kickoff. And this is probably a more vanilla song. I feel like the two most commercial songs on this project, as much as I like the song Eyes, I feel like this is a pretty gnarled type one. This one's probably more generated to like metal type territories and more hardcore, just more viciousness. But I feel like Crusher Fucker and Welcome to the Fall are probably the most commercial type ones in terms of the aspect of being the most consumer friendly for like the most vanilla aspects as like a starting point. Really feel like Welcome to the Fall is like a real nice vanilla kind of dap entry type one to get. And Crusher Fucker's like the buzz single that pretty much might just be like the more affable choice for like a radio grab or something, I'd have to say. But it's a good pitch behind that. Chemicals is like a brewing kind of zone out enjoyment of a song. I'd have to say this goes with The Abyss. Definitely, I would feel like it's a little bit more goopy compared to that one. It's a great feel good kind of distortion snarl to kind of get here. So it's just a nice one. Just telling by the song Chemicals, you can hear like the chemicals in the background, pitches like that. It's kind of a concept, but just something really appreciating the times. Just get some good drink in your system. Some of those type fairs just to be able to have just a lot of this. It's just the continued head trip, but just throughout the night, and just having some great hangout type fare, PlayStation type music, pizzas out, chicas dancing, some of those type fairs, just be able to get the standard, this gnarled kind of routine craziness as far as those pitches going to happen. But like I said, a lot of this, minus like Welcome to the Fall and Crusher Fucker, are kind of more localized, I'd say. It's just kind of the pitch, but it's not like that's a problem. It's just more around the neighborhood. The most popular song off this album is Burn the Dictator. It's like a snarling, kind of dark, shrouded head trip of a song, I'd have to say. It's like the feelings kicking in real well. I'd have to say just really appreciating the times, probably where you'd have 4 or 5 beers in your system or more, some pitches like that. I'd say it's like great after the Eyes song to play. I would say basically if you play the Eyes song at like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night as you're getting turned up, this would be a great song after that to kind of get to, just to really, this is where you're starting to really notice and just have some good times, eat like half a pizza, something like that, some of those type of fares. This is like a song that's just some great loud pack to kind of get here. So it's just an excellent concept. This whole album's pretty vicious. Definitely easy enough to recommend this album to purchase just within the appeal behind it. I mean, definitely considering that Mr. Strange only gets like 760 viewers a month, to just be a concept, he'd probably surprise a lot of people fucking with this and be like, oh, hey, who's like this, surprising a bunch of people being like, what you know about this? Just being able to say, like, for folks, especially for folks who know Marilyn Manson, Rob Zombie, it's just an excellent pitch. Is This the End is another nice one. This is pretty similar to Burn the Dictators, the same sort of head trip. I would listen to that song. I would listen to this song. It's like a hell is stuck, kind of feeling good backyard and hangout bonanza. I would definitely feel like about this one. Definite some loud pack for like a blistering night, I'd have to say. So this overall has the appeal, just really getting tore up, some of those type pitches. I mean, obviously within the concept, if you're not more in weekend type mode or just time where you're gonna, if you're not more in weekend type mode or just time where you're gonna have some free time, some of those type pitches, especially to have some recreation, some of that type fare. This is really not too much like a work shift type album. It's not really as much blue collar, just more like more like SFW friendly. I feel like for the most part, this I feel like maybe Welcome to the Fall and Crusher Fucker would be like the two ones that you probably play at like 7:30, from like 7:30 p.m. forward, as you just showed up to like the shindig and you're gonna cut loose and just enjoy the rest of the night. But it's really not something to kind of get you to work in like the hours of just like 8 o'clock in the morning or noon or something like that. It's not lunch break music, not 8 a.m. music, not brunch music, SFW pitches, Target music, Starbucks, some of that type fare. But look, after I would have to say, if you're just in demon time type mode, it does have like some autumn brush. Like I do feel like the song Raising Hell is a good example of that. But yeah, Is This the End is like a loud pack for like a blistering night, I'd have to say. So it's just an excellent pitch. But yeah, like I was saying, some of the relative pitch that just has a little bit more Traverse in mind would be Raising Hell. There's like a ghastly kind of horrorcore like feel about this particular one. It's like a swirling kind of autumn bleakness. Definitely like that about this song. Very much when it's cool out, kind of local brushy stroll type music. This is some great music for when it's cooler out. I'd have to say it's like a local kind of brushy stroll type music to kind of get here. I'd have to say it's an overall pretty dope song. Just appreciate the appeal behind it. Just really like the aspect just smoking on the way home. Some of those type pitches are just car traverse, just kind of after hours of discs, maybe paying some decent bills just after the after hours of just like 8:30, 9 p.m. Just most of this album kind of takes place in like the night type setting, just more demon time and just after hours type pitches, especially in like the fall. I'd have to say is it's a great concert, kind of get that, but there is like a little bit of in between type music for a standard fare if you do for like standard fare to get some stuff done, just kind of mild errands. I'd have to say so it's a good pitch. Then inside my mind's a nice one. It's like a good wake up noise. I would definitely feel like definitely some snap to like haunting murkiness. I would feel like definitely one to kind of have snap to some haunting murkiness. Definitely one to kind of have when you wake up at like 7:30 p.m. forward, 8:30 p.m. forward, some pitches like that. Definitely appreciate like the cool weather brush I'd had to say and just smoke one too, as far as like this waking up in like October, something like that. It's overall good appeal. Just some gasliness just to kind of get this overall like the cool out, this kind of crispness of this particular song. It's a real nice one. A pretty good doom and gloom type song that just works extremely well, I'd have to say. So that's the pitch behind this product. So once again, me recommending 9 out of 11 songs on here just to say Crusher Fucker 2007 is just the same song as like Crusher Fucker the original. So that's throws it down to 13. And then just the Requiem for the Past, and then the Descend song were just kind of songs that were not much as songs, just didn't really have much aesthetic about them, which is just kind of the concept. It just doesn't feel as much category to slash interludes from the score, I'd have to say. So that's the pitch behind it. But I do feel like The Abyss was like a good song that had like some contributing vocals that just enhanced the products. That I'll keep that song. So basically, yeah, so basically 9 songs out of 11 off this particular album that I recommend. I'm going to give this album like a 9.5 out of 10. So in terms the social score, that's kind of like, I'm gonna go ahead and give the social score like a 9.5 out of 10. Also, I would give it a 10 out of 10 just because the impact and the viciousness, but I just kind of question the concept. I feel like the main draw point about this particular cat here is just the fact that he's kind of like a meld of Insane Clown Posse and Marilyn Manson, just with like an alternative and kind of underground type sense to kind of get here. Definitely, if you like Marilyn Manson, but you want something more grassroots and just kind of more within the aspect of more localized type, fair backyard type music, that if you like Marilyn Manson, but you're familiar with all his songs, you want something that's a little bit more in between, just local, just kind of gas station pickups and backyard type smokers, some of that type of some great music to get here. So it's more residential, low key pitches like that. There are some minor club type moments and a little bit of commercial bounce, but for the most part, that's the only real natch. Just saying that his relative obscurity might detract from some folks, but for the most part, these folks that you fuck with should be fucking with this dude because he's just fly as fuck and he has some great music here. It's just a good pitch. This has a great aesthetic, so it's just kind of the thing. In terms of future, I don't really know what Mr. Strange has been up to as much full bound. I mean, it's kind of low key, just in the sense you just would have to pay attention, just keep at. I mean, he doesn't often update his YouTube, I'd have to say, so it's just kind of the pitch behind it. But you can check his Spotify to find new music that he's done. But I don't know if he has like a full blown. He might have like Instagram or something like that that kind of showcases what he's been up to. But it's just kind of the pitch. I'm probably going to review more of these down the road. I'd have to say it's a good pitch behind it. But this is damn near basically like a classic album here. Just would say 9.5 out of 10. Might as well be like a virtual classic. I'd say just an impactful type one, just full of that horror type riff. It is full of that horror type vibes and overall torrent of just viciousness that has a lot of appeal. I'd say, and this overall the impact of it's rather high. It's a great alternative to Marilyn Manson, some localized kind of carnage.